Welcome into Boxing Scene Today here in the Pro Box TV studios. As we always say, as heavyweight boxing goes, so goes boxing itself. And Tyson Fury, one of the most entertaining heavyweights of this generation. But he says he won't be coming back. Do we believe it? Because I hate to say it, fighters are liars. And I got two of them next to me right now. The champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi. Coaches are a little bit more honest. That's why we have Robert Garcia with us. But he's a former fighter, so he knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, at a horse race, Tyson Fury, when asked about returning to the ring, said, "I will never return. Look at the hairs in this beard. I'm getting old. I'm getting gray at 36. I will not come back." A lot of people thinking maybe the Anthony Joshua fight in the future. Chris, we never believe boxer retirements, especially a guy like Tyson Fury who has stepped away and come back a million times. He loves keeping us dangling here. What are your thoughts on his comments?
If it wasn't Tyson Fury,
yes,
I would think he's actually telling the truth, that he's not going to come back. But it's Tyson Fury. And Tyson Fury has retired so many times. And he's had a wild up and down trajectory of his career. From rehab, from gaining hundreds of pounds to losing hundreds of pounds to looking, ordinary to looking unbeatable. The guy is just, you can't ever pinpoint what you're going to get with him. He's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
I was about to give the Forrest Gump. This guy.
You're rubbing off on
We're
me.
like whatever.
Telepathic.
Telepathic.
You read each other's minds. But this idea that Paulie...
We just become best friends.
Did we? I think he did. I think they became best
friends. Do you want to do karate in the garage?
Well, this idea that, Tyson is kind of all over the place, has always been all over the place. You just can't believe a word he says. Is that where you're coming from, Paulie?
Well, I'll tell you what. First
Please.
off, Jimmy, I got to take a gripe with you. You said fighters are liars. I got two of them right here. You got two fighters here? You got two liars right here.
I do. I got both.
Saying both.
I both.
All of the above. All of the above.
How many times have you been hurt in a fight? Guys, fine. Best camp of my life. Best camp I've ever been in.
I'm just pulling your leg. I'll tell you what. It's one of those things where if it was anybody but Tyson Fury, like the champ said, you'd start to say, okay, he's got a point. Maybe he's right. But with Fury, I also think it's a little bit of gamesmanship. I'll tell you why. He's getting back in shape, right? He's got the videos. He posts the videos out there. There's videos that are out there, right? People are seeing, the whole rumor mill about how Tyson's getting back in shape. Okay, if you don't typically live in shape and you're getting back in shape, the rumors are going to start to, right. And you're recording it. You obviously want people to know you're getting back in shape, right? So it's not like this is like Bernard Hopkins or even Chris Algieri who live in shape. So when you see them in shape, you don't think, oh, they're going to fight again, because that's just the way they live.
By the way, Chris runs 10 miles when we're at a hotel for a fight.
You run, but when you see me getting back in shape, you know it's real. Okay, Paulie might be fighting. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so when it's Tyson Fury, who typically doesn't live all year round in shape, when you see him getting back in shape, and he's broadcasting it, because if you don't want anybody to know, you just do it on your own. He's broadcasting it on video. You're trying to create some conversation there, So now, could still go both ways. I'll tell you why. You may be thinking about it, and you may be saying, okay, I'm getting back in shape. I want everybody to know. I want the conversation to start. I want to see see who grabs at this, how much interest there is, how much gauging that the offers might come my way. But also it could be you got back in shape and you're like, I don't like the way I feel, so I'm going to say, you know what, I got back in shape, but it's just, I don't feel the same way, so I may not fight again. So him saying, I'm not going to fight again, I gave you a reason that it could be a tease because he wants people to grab at it, because he's also been recording himself in shape. But it could also be that side that I just mentioned where he was getting back in shape, didn't like the way he felt, and said, you know what, I don't think I'm going to fight again. I tried to get back in shape. I just don't like the way I feel. He's not explaining it to you in that way, but he may have made that decision in that way and say, you know what, I'm not going to fight again because, it's just the rhythm isn't the same anymore. It could be the case. So because it's Fury, we don't know which one it is. But I'm giving you both levels of both lines of reasoning here.
Now, Coach, I got to bring you in and ask you about that. This idea that you're halfway through a camp, maybe a fighter's making a comeback, maybe a fighter has taken some time off, and things just aren't clicking the right way. How many times have you come across that? And is it a tough decision to make, mid-camp or mid-getting in shape?
Look, it does happen, and just like Paulie was saying, he's 100% correct. We've had times where my brother Mikey comes into the gym, starts working out, gets a few rounds in sparring, and we're all thinking, damn, might he be thinking about making a comeback? But a week later, he doesn't show up because it's tough. It's just you just sometimes it's you come to a point where where your body just doesn't respond, your body just doesn't want to do it anymore, and you don't want to force it either. You know, Mikey's a very smart person. He's never told us he wants to come back, but we kind of have that feeling if he comes to work out and starts training for a couple of weeks, we always think about it. Might he want to come back? But no, he says he's just doing it just for the workout. But yeah, you know, he starts sparring and then he'll stop going to the gym for another week or two. So it's just the way it is with boxers, especially you know, athletes. But I'm, you know, in this case, boxers. I think Fury just needs to come back for one fight, and that's the Anthony Joshua fight. Both of
Yep.
those guys
Yep.
are gonna make a lot of money. We need to see that fight. It doesn't matter, you know. It doesn't matter if a lot of people might criticize them. I think that's the fight that they need to do. I would love to see it.
Now, Chris,
Cannot agree more, by the way.
Right.
Robert. I want that fight too.
yeah, you were talking about this off camera. The guy's got to come back for that one fight, but it's the idea that you don't want him to phone that fight in. Do you think he does, or you know what I mean? Like, would you rather he is really focused on that fight, or if he's not going to have the focus, to Paulie's point, that he just goes, look, I'm not going to do this if I'm not 100% committed to it. Do you want to see it even if he's not 100% committed to it?
The issue with Tyson Fury, and we didn't bring this up yet, and one of the reasons that he kept making these comebacks is he's super competitive. He sees other guys getting
Shine
out there,
Yeah.
getting shine, you know, getting all the accolades, getting all the flowers, and he's like, I can beat that guy. I can beat that tosser, something, whatever he says. You know,
Whatever Gypsy King thing he would
whatever
say.
Gypsy
Yeah.
thing that he would say, but yeah, no, I think a lot of it's that. So I think a big part of him and him making a comeback would be like, I want another shot at Usyk. But the fight that is really there is the Joshua fight. So can he let it go that Usyk's gone? He got it too far ahead of you. Leave it alone, champ. And then you go for the money fight with Joshua. And then, like you said, does he phone that in because it's a money grab, or does he treat it like this is a competitive fight? Because, hey, we're both passed. We're both lost to Usyk twice. We're in this position, and we can be each other's dance partners. It's a really interesting way to look at it. And again, because it's Tyson Fury, no rules apply the way you would use him for any other fighter in any other situation, because you never know what that guy's going to go. He will make a move and go each and every way. He might fight Usyk again. He might try to. He might fight the Anthony Joshua fight, or he might never fight again. And exactly what Robert said about Mikey, that's exactly how my career ended. I was on my way back, and I was getting back in shape. I was in camp. I started sparring, and I was like, I don't feel good. I don't want to go through this anymore. And you know, I would be consistent, and then I wouldn't be, because I go home and be like, oh man, my body does not take the same punishment like it used to the same way. So it could be that as well. But again, with Tyson, you never know.
I think Vladimir Klitschko ended his career like that too,
Same.
right?
Injuries. Yeah. Injuries in camp.
He was in camp and he was thinking about fighting, and then he's just like, I said and done.
Yeah.
But another thing that is interesting, if you remember, for example, if you remember the Thrill in Manila, if you remember Ali Frazier 3, there was an edge to that fight where Frazier was not going to lose to Ali. Ali was not going to lose to Frazier. There was an edge that kept two fighters who were past their respective primes of the heavyweight division in that fight emotionally and mentally. Like the beating Frazier took, people forget, he took an ass whooping early in that fight. And if he was in there for the money, he would just gone, all right, screw this, I'll take another loss. He refused to do that. Do you think there's that edge in Joshua versus Fury, should they fight?
Okay, well, first of all, I'll preface it by saying this, and not necessarily saying that Joshua and Fury can't do this, but
Right.
that generation of men are different kind of men. Pride means everything. It means more than money. It means everything to those men. And I don't use the word men lightly. That's
Right.
late 70s man, testosterone man, like, you know, manly.
Pride. They were not going down. They were not
Ali
losing
and
to each
Frazier
other. Yeah.
were men of men. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And
Giants.
And there was really there was no amount of money that was going to make Frazier just mail it in. Not because of who he is, not because of the fact that he's older, and honestly, he didn't like Ali particularly either. There's no way he was going to give him that satisfaction. So he was going to go for it and go for it all the way. And we ended up with an all-time classic. But sticking to the older generation, sometimes that rivalry will push you. Leonard and Hearns, they also fought a rematch many years later. By all intents and purposes, may have been pretty much done. You know, Leonard got off the canvas twice. I thought he robbed Hearns.
Oh, Hearns got robbed.
I thought
I have no problem saying that.
deserved a decision. But Leonard doesn't have to get up anymore. He's like, bro, screw this. But no, he got up twice. And I think he hurt Hearns in that fight too, even though Hearns, most people feel Hearns won that fight and then it ended up a draw. I think he hurt Hearns in that fight as well, if I remember correctly.
Definitely did.
So, you know, you're still fighting your ass off because it means more than just money. And I think when it comes to Fury and Joshua, I think one thing that Eubank and Ben taught us about the UK fan base And if these guys weren't from the UK, maybe I'd feel a little bit differently. But these guys are from the UK. They're going to be fighting in front of this fan base. This fan base loves you for who you are, but they'll let you hear it if you don't put up or shut up, you know? And I think Fury and Joshua have created such a big reputation for themselves in front of this great fan base that it means too much to them. It means too much to them to mail it in, you know? And so I think from the perspective, when you put all these things into play, if they do fight again, I don't see anybody mailing it in because it would draw a dramatic amount of fans and the drama of the night would be so huge, even though there's no heavyweight title on the line, even though Usyk is the man in the heavyweight division. There's too much pride on the line, for lack of a better word. There's too much man stuff, bro. These guys are gonna fight. If they sign that fight, they're not showing up to mail it in. Not because of who they are, and not because of
what's on the line.
What's on the line, which is sometimes means more at this point in your life, means more than championships.
And when you have everything,
that
pride,
bragging,
when you have everything, pride really matters.
Yeah. So it's you know, I don't know if the fight's gonna happen because obviously, you know, we don't know with Fury what we're gonna get. Even with AJ, we don't know what we're gonna get. You know, but I do think that if they do sign this fight, they're gonna show up and they're gonna put up and they're gonna make it worthwhile. Just like Eubank and Ben did. You know, Eubank and Ben, I had my doubts as well. You know, but when I saw what made them dig down, the reason you dig down, it's like, okay, bro, there's something a little bit different, a little bit special.
Me excited about a Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua.
I want to see it, but
you know, I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm in.
I think it's 3-0. All three of us. And Jimmy.
I'm in. I'm 100%.
I'm buying what's being sold. Fury, AJ, if you fight, I'm in.
But Coach, you know, what are they fighting for at this point? I think Usyk is the man of this generation. Does that generation begin after Tyson Fury? Does Tyson Fury, let's say he does call it a career or does come back and fight and win and beat Anthony Joshua, is he the guy until Usyk? Is he the guy from, let's say, Klitschko to Usyk? Does he get his flowers as the best in a certain maybe half generation he was in? What are your thoughts on his career?
I think Usyk is the guy. Usyk is the guy. There's nobody going to be better than him or going to do better than him. But, you know, Fury and Anthony, it's more about just pride themselves. Heck, I wouldn't mind if they just make it an 8-round fight. I just want to see them beat each other up, and they owe it to each other. They owe it to the fans. They owe it to their country. They have to do it. You know, I think it's a fight that they need to do just because with no title on the line. They don't need to accomplish another world title. They've already accomplished so much. They've already made so much money. So just do it for, you know, man, donate all the money to charity. I don't care, you know, but they have to do it to something. They have to do it because it's something that they owe to the boxing world.
And I'll say this. I think it's the fight that, if we talk about Fury coming back, I don't know that an Usyk fight really generates that much interest anymore. Usyk beat him.
He's got him.
And any other heavyweights, they're coming up and they're hungry and they're good heavyweights, but you want to see them against Fury? No, you want to see them against one another, really, you know, to start to build up their legacies. Fury and Joshua, it's the fight you just want to watch. They don't have the luxury of like a Jake Paul who can call out everybody from the flyweight division to the heavyweight division, and people say, oh, okay, you know, they got to fight each other, you know. I mean, AJ might fight Paul from, you know, that's also been one of the conversations.
Apparently that's a big talking point. So
maybe if AJ knocks out Paul, you know, maybe it'll stimulate more juice flowing towards this towards a Fury Joshua showdown. But yeah, they don't have the luxury of calling out everybody else. They gotta, you know, fight each other.
Chris, I gotta ask you, you know, obviously coming mostly from MMA, we always have our, man, that's the fight that kind of got away.
Yeah.
Two heavyweights in the UK in the same era, not fighting one another. Is this one of the biggest misses of all time if we don't see it? Because rarely do we get that.
Yeah, Jimmy, you set me up perfectly because I was thinking that when Paulie was saying, I think this fight not happening becomes a big talking point, a historical talking point, actually. The fact that, wow, we had this fight we could have made that would have been generated so much interest, and it's two UK fighters, two larger-than-life characters, two guys who were fantastic fighters in their prime.
Great foils for one another.
Yeah, I mean, opposing, very opposite in terms of their characteristics and their personalities. It just makes way too much sense that if the fight doesn't happen, it will be a historical point from that point of view. So much so that, you know, the fight has happened. So we're all in. So Fury, Joshua, please make this fight happen. I'm in.
Hey, you know, when you got both champs, you got the coach, everybody's on board, you got to make this fight happen. And for all of us here at Boxing Scene Today, I hope it does. For the champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi, Coach Robert Garcia, thank you so much for joining us after a busy weekend. But it's been more great boxing news. And as Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, if they make something happen, you'll find out about it right here. Join us. Find out why millions are watching.
Like, subscribe, and comment if you want to see that fight.
You bet.